Okay, so the question that we're going to answer, and you should have already looked at this on slide 13 and answered a question at the bottom about argument questions or argument answers that you write in other subjects. But the question that we're going to answer is, Tom is a hero. Evaluate to what extent do you agree with this statement? Refer to the whole passage in your answer. Now, I'm going to read the passage to you, but first of all, I'm going to explain what task you need to do after you've read it, okay? So on slide 15, so task 6, now open the extract in the Google Doc and complete this task. In one colour, highlight and annotate any evidence that makes Tom seem heroic. I did an example for you in the video on slide 14. In second colour, highlight and annotate any evidence that makes Tom look unheroic, and I did an example for you in my video too. So when you're annotating, you need to explain how the quote makes Tom seem like a hero against the success criteria that you came up with earlier, ideally. This will help you when answering the question, and I'll explain this a bit more in the video. So you're going to open your Google Doc. First of all, I'm going to read it, then I will do a couple of annotations. Now, what I will say is I've noticed that when I make a copy for students, the annotations don't always copy across, but you can add mine for your first couple if you would like to. Okay, an extract from Border Crossing by Pat Barker. Suddenly, a third figure appeared, coming out from between the derelict buildings. He stopped and looked towards the river, or rather at a small jetty that was built across the mud in the deep water. He then started to stride towards it. It was Lauren who first noticed the young man. Look, she said, touching Tom's arm. They stood and watched him, grateful to be distracted from their own problems, to be mildly interested, mildly puzzled by the behaviour of another human being. There was an oddity about this boy that they both recognised seconds before he did anything odd. His trainers bit into the gravel, the only sound except for their own breathing. And then, alarmingly, he was slipping and slithering all over the rotted timbers of the jetty. He stood poised at the end, a black shape smudged with mist. They watched him drop his coat, scrape off his trainers, then tug the sweatshirt over his head. What's he doing? Lauren said. He can't be going to swim. People did swim here. In the summer, you saw boys diving from the end of the jetty, but surely nobody would want to swim on a raw, murky day like this. He seemed to be shaking pills into the palm of his hand and cramming them into his mouth. He threw the bottle away, far out into the water, but his body got there first. A low, powerful dive that raised barely a splash. Almost immediately, his head appeared, bobbing as he was swept further from the bank. Already Tom was running, crunching broken glass, dodging half bricks, jumping piles of rubble. Once he lost his balance and almost fell, but immediately was up again and running, slimy wood of the jetty treacherous beneath his feet. A second later, the water enclosed him in a coffin of ice. His mind contracted in fear as he fought the river that pushed him under, tossed him about, and slapped him to and fro across the face. Okay, so the first thing that I notice about this that makes me think that Tom might be being framed in a bit of a heroic light is that when Lauren notices the young man, she says, look, and touches Tom's arm. So Lauren looks to Tom for support or help. She is worried, so she tells Tom, which suggests she believes he will know what to do or be able to take care of it like a hero. So you're trying to say what the quote shows you and how it presents Tom in the light of a hero. Okay, so anything that you put on that success criteria, you can look for here, and make sure you're explicit in your comment about why he's a hero. Okay, there are then also several bits that you could use for the opposing argument. So Tom was running, crunching broken glass, dodging half bricks, jumping piles of rubble, but once he lost his balance. Losing your balance, almost falling. Heroes don't trip up or lose balance. They are physically agile. Tom seems a bit clumsy here. Okay, so that's what I want you to do, and I want you to do it for, really, you need to have at least 7 or 8 annotations. I don't mind if you have more for one side of the argument or more for the other side of the argument, but at least 7 or 8 annotations, please. Okay.